They told you rock bottom was the end. They whispered in your ear that this was the place where men go to die, not with a roar, but a whimper. But let me tell you something they won't. Rock bottom is not where your story ends. It's where you stop pretending. It's where your mask falls. It's where your illusions burn to ash. It's where the world stops coddling your delusions and begins forging your truth. Because down here, in the darkness, there are no distractions. No applause, no safety nets, just the raw mirror of who you truly are, not who they said you were, not who you pretended to be, but the man or woman staring back at you, trembling, broken, and yet still breathing. That breath, that's your rebellion. That heartbeat, that's your revolution. That silence, that's your new beginning. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But what they forget is this. The why doesn't show up when things are easy. It doesn't arrive with comfort. It doesn't come wrapped in luxury. The why is forged in pain. It is revealed in fire. And fire only burns when you've hit the bottom, when the oxygen of comfort is gone. Rock bottom is sacred. It is the crucible where your soul is tested, where your spirit is stripped of every lie. It is not a death sentence. It is a rite of passage. Look at the greats. Lincoln, left for dead by depression, clawed his way through sleepless nights and political ruin. Disney, broke and betrayed, was laughed out of offices before he changed the world with a mouse. Edison failed 10,000 times before he lit the world. And Nietzsche himself, frail, sick, cast out from academia, still gave us words so powerful they outlived kingdoms. What do all these men have in common? They walked through hell and kept walking. They stood face to face with failure, humiliation, despair, and refused to be defined by it. Because here's the truth, rock bottom is where you get to decide. Will you rot in regret or rise in rebellion? No one climbs out of the pit by accident. You crawl, you bleed, you scream, but every inch you rise is earned, and that makes it yours. Not a gift, not luck, not privilege, yours. The world will try to medicate your pain, to sedate your hunger, to tell you that life is about feeling good, staying safe, fitting in. But Nietzsche didn't believe in safety. He believed in overcoming. That which does not kill me makes me stronger, he wrote. And those words weren't poetry. They were forged from his own torment, his own exile, his own agony. Pain, when embraced, becomes power. Suffering, when faced, becomes fuel. Rock bottom, when accepted, becomes a launch pad. But only if you choose it. Only if you stop whining and start building. Only if you stop blaming and start becoming. Because nobody is coming to save you. Not your family, not your friends, not society. They can offer you a hand, a word, a moment, but salvation is an inside job. You have to claw your way back to the surface. You have to decide, right now, that this darkness will not bury you, it will baptize you. You must be willing to be broken, so that you can be built stronger. There is no path to greatness that doesn't pass through the shadows. No mountaintop that doesn't require a climb. No legend who didn't first feel forgotten. So if you are down, if you are shattered, if everything you knew has crumbled, good. Now you're ready. Ready to become what you were meant to be, not what the world conditioned you to be. Ready to speak your truth, not echo their lies. Ready to stop surviving and start creating. Because when you hit the bottom, the only direction left is up. But here's the catch. You don't just rise, you forge yourself up. Like a blacksmith with hammer in hand, every step you take must be deliberate. Every thought you feed must be fierce. Every action you commit to must be aligned with the version of yourself you refuse to live without. This is not about motivation. It's not about hype. It's not about feeling good. It's about war, the war within, the war between who you've been and who you're becoming. You can't afford to be soft here. You can't afford self-pity. You can't sit and wait for the universe to hand you a miracle. You must become the miracle. Nietzsche said we must have chaos within us to give birth to a dancing star. And that chaos, that inner upheaval, it begins here, in the rubble, in the silence, in the solitude of your lowest point. You want power? Find it in your pain. You want purpose? Unearth it in your suffering. You want peace? Fight for it inside your storm. Rock bottom is not beneath you, it is within you. It's the place your ego dies and your soul awakens. So don't waste it. Don't numb it. Don't run from it. Don't drown it in excuses, distractions, addictions. Stare it down. Let it burn away the parts of you that were never real. Let it reveal the truth that comfort kept hidden. You were not made to be average. You were not born to live quiet. You were forged for fire. So let the fire rise. Let the ashes speak. Let this be your beginning. Because when you reach the end of everything you thought you were, you finally get to choose who you become. There is a moment, a sacred, violent moment, when the soul stops begging and starts demanding. When the man who once whispered, "Why me?" begins to thunder, "Try me," that moment is not given. It is earned in silence, in suffering, in solitude, and you don't reach it by pretending you're okay. You reach it when the lies you've told yourself begin to suffocate. You reach it when the old version of you, the weak, the afraid, the small, begins to rot under the weight of your own inaction. Yes, rock bottom strips you, but maybe that's what you needed. Maybe the life you built was never yours to begin with. Maybe the identity you clung to was just a patchwork of fears, expectations, and borrowed dreams. And now, with all of it gone, you can finally build something real. But listen to me. Don't you dare waste this moment. Don't you dare crawl back to who you were just because the fire got hot. The man who chooses his comfort over his calling dies long before his heart stops beating. Don't let that be your story. You were not sent here to survive. You were sent here to overcome, to transcend, to rise. Nietzsche said, "Become who you are." Not who you were told to be, not who they expected you to remain, but who you truly are. Beneath the fear, beneath the failure, beneath the false humility, that's why you're here. Not to curse the darkness, but to become the light. Not to beg for rescue, but to awaken your will. Not to watch others rise, but to conquer your own mountain. And the mountain is you, your mind, your habits, your doubts, your addictions, your cowardice, your excuses. That's the real enemy, not the world, not the economy, not your past. The only thing keeping you stuck is the story you keep telling yourself about who you are. But that story is not sacred. It is not unchangeable. It is not prophecy. It is programming. And you are the author. You want to change your life? Start by killing the narrative that you are powerless. Start by burning the lie that it's too late. Start by burying the belief that you're broken beyond repair. You are not broken. You are breaking open. You are not lost. You are being called. You are not at the end. You are standing at the origin of the real you, the one that doesn't flinch when life hits back, the one that doesn't crumble when left alone, the one that doesn't need validation, permission, or applause to do the work. Let them underestimate you. Let them forget you. Let them laugh. You don't need their belief. You only need your own, because down here, where there's no crowd to cheer you on, you learn to roar for yourself. You learn to become the fire instead of waiting for the spark. You learn that faith is not about feeling. It's about deciding. And discipline is not about motivation. It's about identity. Do not aim to get back what you lost. Aim to become what you've never been. This world is not kind to the weak. It rewards the relentless. It crowns the obsessed. It bows to those who do not bow. And you've been chosen for this pain. Chosen because there is something in you that cannot be awakened in safety. Something that cannot be taught, only triggered. And adversity is that trigger. It is the call to arms, the divine rebellion, the sacred collapse before the sacred rise. You are not the victim. You are the phoenix. And this ruin, this is your altar. So stop searching for signs. Stop asking for guarantees. Stop hoping someone else will fix what only you can face. Get up, even if your legs shake, even if your voice trembles, even if your heart is broken. Get up, because your future depends on it. Get up, because every second you stay down, your old self wins. And he does not deserve to live. The man who procrastinates, avoids, blames, settles, bury him. Let this fire be his funeral. And let the new you rise, forged in conviction, raised by hardship, fueled by destiny. Nietzsche wrote, "Live dangerously, not recklessly, not carelessly, but courageously. Live in such a way that fear must flee from your footsteps, that excuses evaporate in your presence, That mediocrity dare not stand in your shadow, because once you've seen the truth of rock bottom, you can never again pretend that life is just about getting by. It's about becoming, and becoming is violent. Becoming is raw. Becoming requires the death of who you were so that you can resurrect who you must be. Do you hear me? This is not your ending. This is your initiation. You have been chosen, not cursed, summoned, not abandoned, broken, but only so your real strength could be born. So stop mourning the fall, start mastering the climb, and let this be the moment the world forgot you, right before you became unforgettable. You want to know why the world doesn't hand you everything when you cry? Because life doesn't care about your tears. It respects your transformation. Every man wants to rise, but few are willing to be buried first. They want the crown, but not the crucifixion. They want the glory, but not the grind. But greatness has never been born in comfort. It is born in crucibles, in silence, in shame, in seasons of unbearable pressure. This pressure you feel now, it's not punishment, it's preparation. It is your soul being tempered like steel, refined in fire, strengthened by resistance. And the greater your future, the more relentless your present trials will feel. Because nothing truly valuable comes without a violent cost. Look at the tree. Its roots grow deeper only when the storm threatens to rip it from the earth. Look at the sword. It becomes sharp only after being pounded, heated, cooled, again and again. And look at yourself. Every time you were shattered, there was a chance to shape something stronger. The question is, did you use it? Or did you let the pain pass through you without learning? Did you let the failure define you instead of refine you? Did you crawl back to comfort instead of climbing toward the crown? You must understand, adversity is not your enemy. It is your mentor. It exposes what is weak, so you can rebuild it strong. It crushes what is false, so only the essential remains. It humbles your ego, so your spirit can rise. Nietzsche didn't see suffering as meaningless, he saw it as formative, the very thing that sculpts your will into something immortal. Because what else can be trusted in a man, if not his ability to endure? What else do you call power, if not the refusal to be broken by life? It is easy to smile when you win. It is easy to believe when things go your way. But real strength is revealed in the drought. Real faith is forged in the silence. Real greatness is born when no one is watching, and you rise anyway. You rise anyway, even when the weight feels unbearable, even when your heart is hollowed out, even when you've been betrayed, mocked, fired, forgotten. That's the moment you earn your future, because you don't train for battle in the light. You train in the pit, in the places no one sees, in the repetitions that break your bones and rebuild your mindset, in the nights you wrestle with your shadow until the sun finds you worthy again. You want to lead? Learn to lose first. You want to win? Learn to suffer with dignity. You want to build something eternal? Let it cost you everything temporary. This is the law of the warrior. This is the creed of the reborn. And rock bottom is your proving ground. You're not here by accident. The pain you feel was tailored. The fall was designed. Not by the world, but by the part of you that knows you were meant for more. The real you, the one buried beneath fear and distraction, is trying to emerge. And emergence requires collapse. So let it collapse. Let everything fake fall apart. Let the weak beliefs die screaming. Let your identity burn in the furnace of your discipline, and from the ashes, rise with a mind forged in purpose, with a heart lit by pain, with a soul too wild to be caged. They say rock bottom reveals your true friends. But more than that, it reveals you. It shows you who you are when there's no audience. It shows you whether you're loyal to your excuses or your evolution. It shows you whether your dreams were just decoration or a demand written in your bones. This is your time, not to explain, not to wait, not to beg. This is your time to build, brick by brick, habit by habit, thought by thought. You've already been broken. Good. Now it's time to be rebuilt. And not as the man who once walked the earth afraid of judgment, afraid of pain, afraid of failure, but as the one who chose to walk through hell and return with fire in his eyes. There is no success without sacrifice. There is no rebirth without death. There is no new world without first burning the old one to the ground. You've been given a gift, the gift of nothing. No plan, no fallback, no easy way out. And that gift is sacred, because it forces you to find out who you really are, not when things are going well, but when everything has collapsed around you. Nietzsche said, "Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the overman, a rope over an abyss." Well, you're in the abyss now, and this is the place where the transformation begins. If you want to become the overman, the one who rises above comfort, conformity, cowardice, you must walk the rope. You must cross the abyss. You must stare down the chaos within and say, "This will not destroy me. This will define me." Because once you've made peace with rock bottom, no one can control you again. No loss can own you. No failure can shame you. No betrayal can break you. You've already been broken, and you chose to rise. You are not behind. You are not cursed. You are not done. You are beginning. And beginnings, real beginnings, always look like endings at first. So take this pain and don't just survive it. Use it. Take this rock bottom and don't just rise from it. Build on it. You have nothing to lose anymore. And that makes you the most dangerous kind of person. The one with nothing left to protect. The one with no one left to impress. The one who has found their power in their pain and is ready to walk through fire. Do you feel it now? The silence after the storm? That stillness is not peace. It is the eye of the hurricane. And you are standing in it. Not because life spared you, but because life dared you. It dared you to fight back, to stop waiting for rescue, to stop pretending the pain would pass without you changing, to stop acting like a victim when a warrior has been screaming inside you all along. Look around. There's no cavalry coming, no map, no mentor, no miracle, only the fire you choose to become. Because down here at rock bottom, everything is stripped away, except the truth. And the truth is this: you can rebuild anything from the ground up if you rebuild yourself first. Not just your habits, not just your schedule, but the very architecture of your mind, your standards, your identity, your philosophy. Your old mindset was built for survival. Now you must build one that commands dominion. And it starts with one vow: I will not return to who I was. You say you want change? Then change everything. The way you think, the way you speak, the way you walk, breathe, move, attack the day. Burn the bridge back to comfort. Burn the excuses that say tomorrow. Burn the idea that you're meant for a life of quiet desperation. Because comfort didn't forge Carnegie. Comfort didn't shape Lincoln. Comfort didn't call Edison to keep going after 1,000 failures. No, it was discomfort, rejection, isolation, that divine crucifixion that every great man must walk through alone. And now it's your turn. So the only question is, will you waste this? Will you patch up the old life, tape the wounds, pretend it's all okay, just to rot in slow motion? Or will you build something eternal? Because here's the truth they won't tell you. Rock bottom is the only place solid enough to build a kingdom that will last. Everything above it can crumble. But what you forge here, from suffering, from truth, from sacred silence, becomes unshakable. You want clarity. You find it here. You want power. You earn it here. You want freedom. Then face the prison you've built with your own thoughts. This isn't just a motivational moment. This is your declaration of war. A war against the parts of you that want to stay weak, stay hidden, stay small. And to win it, you must become something most never will, a master of yourself. Nietzsche said, "He who cannot command himself must obey." And most obey. Not because they're incapable, but because they're unwilling to pay the price of command. But not you. Not now. Because you've seen too much, felt too much, fallen too far to ever be average again. You have scars now, and they are not signs of weakness. They are medals, proof that you bled and chose to keep going, proof that pain visited your house and didn't kill you. It baptized you. You think you're broken? No. You're breaking open. You're being revealed. All the pieces falling apart are exposing the part of you that's indestructible. You don't need to fix your life. You need to forge your will, get obsessed with discipline, fall in love with the pain that others flee from. Turn your mornings into battlegrounds, make your rituals sacred, and make your vision non-negotiable, because that's what it takes, not affirmations, not hope, but blood, time, soul, and complete devotion. No more waiting, no more asking permission, no more half-built bridges to nowhere. You are not who you were last year, not who you were yesterday. You are becoming, and becoming demands fire. So stop seeking comfort, seek conviction, seek the edge of yourself, and keep going when the weak would turn back. That's where the real you begins. Not in the moments of ease, but in the war zone, in the 4 a.m. grind, in the sweat no one sees, in the doubts you silence, in the dreams you protect like they're oxygen. Let them sleep. Let them mock. Let them think you've lost. You know the truth. You didn't lose. You let go of mediocrity, of excuses, of the man you had to bury to make room for the one you're becoming. And now you build, not from luck, not from trends, but from will, from soul, from the silent contract you signed with destiny the moment you chose to rise. This is what it means to resurrect. You don't come back the same. You come back sharper, colder, hungrier, more dangerous to the lies that once owned you. Because once you've touched the bottom and tasted your own ashes, you become untouchable. What can they take from a man who has already lost everything and still rose? What can the world do to a soul who has become his own foundation? Nothing, because that man is not moved by storms. He is the storm. They told you rock bottom was the end. They were wrong. It is the sacred threshold, the birthplace of the real you, stripped of illusion, untethered from weakness, ready to rise without apology. You are no longer building to impress. You are building to become. You are no longer chasing validation. You are chasing mastery. And mastery begins with owning the darkness, not running from it, not denying it, but looking it in the eyes and saying, "You belong to me now." You see, most people are ruled by what they avoid. Fear owns them. Pain controls them. Failure terrifies them. They spend their lives negotiating with the things they refuse to face. But you are not here to negotiate. You are here to dominate. Because once you've stood in the rubble of your own life and said, "I am still here," something irreversible happens. The world loses its grip on you, and your soul remembers what it was made for. Greatness is not a gift. It is a decision. And the moment you decide that your pain is no longer your prison, but your power, you become unstoppable. Do you understand that now? They will tell you to heal, to rest, to take it easy. But you didn't come this far just to feel better. You came to burn brighter, to move forward like a man possessed, not by rage, not by ego, but by the unrelenting truth that you are not finished. Because down here at the bottom, where it's cold and quiet, you realize the fire must come from within. No applause, no external reward, just you, and the decision to keep going anyway, to do one more rep, one more page, one more hour, one more bold act of defiance against the weakness you once bowed to. The men who changed the world weren't born in castles, they were forged in collapse. Think of Ford, mocked for dreaming of machines. Think of Lincoln, crushed by grief, defeated in elections, ridiculed, and yet he stood. Think of Disney, fired for lack of imagination, bankrupt before he built an empire. None of them were handed a throne. They built it in the dirt, and so must you. But listen closely, because this is the part where most people stop. They taste discomfort and turn back. They see no results and give up. They wait to feel ready. But readiness is a lie. You don't wait for it. You generate it, through movement, through momentum, through relentless commitment. Every day, you show up when it hurts. You're driving steel into your spirit. Every time you do what others won't, you're stepping into a new identity. Because greatness isn't about who you were, it's about who you refuse to stop becoming. So no, this isn't your downfall. This is your drafting phase, when the architect of destiny hands you the blueprints and says, "What will you build now that the old life is gone?" And your answer? Your answer is everything. You will build everything you were afraid to believe you could have, not by luck, not by chance, but by sheer will, carved from the pain of this very moment, because this pain, this isn't the enemy, it's the tool, the hammer that smashes delusion. the chisel that cuts through doubt, the furnace that melts away the version of you that's settled. Most will run from this forge, but you will enter it willingly, and you will not leave until you come out forged. You want to know who wins? Not the smartest, not the strongest, but the one who keeps swinging when everyone else has sat down, the one who turns his breakdowns into building blocks, the one who walks out of hell with the fire still in his veins. That's the kind of man the world cannot ignore. That's the kind of man who leaves a mark, not because he was handed a legacy, but because he bled for it. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let the old world collapse. You were not built for comfort. You were born for conquest. And conquest begins now, with every breath, every rep, every silent promise you make in the dark, that you will never again betray your potential, that you will not let this moment pass without making it mean something. Do you hear it? The silence of rock bottom? It's not mourning you. It's waiting for your decision, not your excuses, not your explanation, just your action. Because you don't need permission to rise, you just need a reason. And you've got one now. It's staring you in the face, the pain, the collapse, the loss, the silence. That's your reason, that's your fire. That's the truth that breaks chains. Rock bottom isn't where you end, it's where you start swinging. There's something sacred about standing in the ashes of your old life. Because it's there, and only there, that you finally understand. You are not what happened to you. You are what you decide to do next. No one is coming to rewrite your story. No one is coming to rescue your future. The author is already here, pen in hand, staring down the blank page. And that author is you. So write something worthy. Worthy of the hell you crawled through. Worthy of the nights you couldn't sleep. Worthy of the voice inside you that kept whispering, "Get up, get up, get up," even when everything in you wanted to quit. You didn't survive this just to play small. You didn't get dragged through the dirt just to return to the mediocre comforts of your past. No, you survived so you could transcend. You survived to build, and build you must. Not just with your hands, but with your mind, with your rituals, with your relentless devotion to becoming more. It doesn't matter if you feel ready. It doesn't matter if it hurts. All that matters is that you move, because the man who moves when it's hard becomes the man who commands when it's time. So start. Start before the fear fades. Start while your hands still shake. Start before the world claps for you. Start in silence. Start in the rubble. Start now, because waiting is what broke you in the first place. Understand this. Every second you hesitate is a second you surrender your future to fear. But every second you move, even when it's ugly, even when it's uncertain, you reclaim a piece of your power. And you need that power because you're not just building a life, you're building a standard for how you think, how you show up, how you respond to pain, how you command your mornings, how you execute when no one is watching. This isn't about motivation anymore. This is about identity. You either become the man who bends reality to match his vision, or you become the man who bends his vision to match reality. One leads to greatness, the other leads to regret. There is no middle ground. You want your life to change? Then become the force that changes it. Not when you feel like it, not when it's easy, not when the stars align, but now, exactly as you are, exactly where you are, because waiting for perfection is a coward's delay. And perfection doesn't forge legacies. Pressure does. And you're under pressure now. Good. That means you're being shaped. This is what Nietzsche meant when he said, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." He didn't mean it as a comfort. He meant it as a challenge, because pain doesn't guarantee power. Only response does. So what's yours? Will you numb it, ignore it, wish it away, or will you use it? Use it as fuel. Use it as clarity. Use it as proof that you are still alive, still burning, still able to choose. Because here's the truth. You don't become great by avoiding pain. You become great by deciding that nothing, no failure, no loss, no rock bottom, will be enough to make you quit on who you are destined to become. Look in the mirror and say it out loud. This ends with me. This begins with me. Say it again. Say it until it scares the weak version of you away. Say it until your soul believes it. This is your turning point. Not because the pain stopped, but because you stopped surrendering to it. From this moment on, your life is no longer dictated by what happened. It is directed by what you do with it. You are the storm. You are the sculptor. You are the soul forged in fire, risen from ruin, built from scratch, and destined for dominance. So keep going, not just because it's possible, but because it's necessary. Keep going because the world needs to see what it looks like when a man doesn't just survive rock bottom, but builds his throne there. There is no going back. Not after this. Not after what you've seen. Not after what you've survived. Because once you've stood in the ruins of everything you thought you needed, once you've seen how quickly the world can fall apart, you stop building with paper. You start building with stone. You don't ask life to be easier. You ask yourself to be sharper. And that is when the shift happens. Not just in your circumstances, but in your core. You stop blaming. You stop waiting. You stop hiding behind soft words and soft living. You look in the mirror and say, if I was built to break, I would have shattered by now. But you didn't. You endured. And now you rise, not as who you were, but as who you were meant to be. Every man has a moment when he must bury his former self. Let go of the old dreams. Kill the excuses. Lay to rest the version of him that begged for comfort, that craved the path of least resistance, and from that grave, something greater emerges. Not a man who pretends to be strong, but one who knows he is, because he earned it through scars. Understand this. Resilience is not born in the light. It is forged in the flame. It is earned in solitude. It is carved into your bones by failure, by betrayal, by the long nights when quitting whispered seductively in your ear, and you chose to keep moving anyway. You think greatness feels good every day? You think men who build empires always believed in themselves? No. They simply refused to stop, even when they doubted, even when they bled, even when no one clapped for them. They clapped for themselves. They kept showing up, kept fighting the invisible war, the war inside. And that is where your war is too, not against the world, but against the part of you that says, you can't. You're not enough. Why bother? Silence that voice, not with words, but with work, with ruthless consistency, with action that drowns out the doubt, because the voice will always speak. But whether you listen, that's your choice. And here's the brutal truth no one tells you. Rock bottom is not a punishment. It's a summons, a call to rise, a call to remember who the hell you are, a call to become dangerous again. Not in destruction, but in discipline. A man with nothing to lose is terrifying, but a man who lost everything and came back stronger, he's unstoppable. You now have the one thing most men spend their lives avoiding, the opportunity to start clean. No illusions, no false security, just you, your will, and the work ahead. That's power, that's purity, that's freedom. Because now you know everything they can take from you, they already did. And you're still breathing. Now it's time to build a life they can't take, a mind they can't poison, a mission they can't interrupt, a soul they can't silence. This is the gift of the bottom. You see who you really are, and from this place you can reconstruct yourself, not based on who the world told you to be, but based on truth. Raw, unapologetic, unbreakable. You are not chasing a fantasy anymore. You're constructing a legacy. One brick at a time, one promise kept, one rep, one ritual, one ruthless refusal to stay down. And when they ask you how you did it, you won't talk about luck. You won't talk about talent. You'll look them in the eye and say, I did not stop, I did not break, I did not beg for mercy, I built from the ashes. And that will be the difference. There is a silence that follows suffering, a quiet most people run from. They drown it in distractions, in noise, in lies. But you stood in it, and you listened. You heard the truth that only pain can teach, that nothing outside of you will ever save you, and nothing outside of you ever needed to. Because the weapon was always within. The flame was always flickering behind your ribs. The storm was always yours to command. You just had to be broken open to see it. You see now, don't you? Rock bottom wasn't the end. It was the invitation. The crash wasn't your collapse. It was your calling. It tore away the illusions, the masks, the fragile structures of who you thought you were supposed to be. And beneath it all, there you stood. Not as a victim, but as the foundation. You are the foundation now. And you don't build weak empires on strong foundations. You build fortresses. You build legacies. You build the kind of life that echoes beyond your name. Because once you've clawed your way out of the dirt, you don't settle for dust again. You rise, but you rise different, harder, wiser, clearer. No more chasing approval. No more waiting for the world to understand you. You understand yourself, and that is enough. You know what it cost you to still be standing. You know the demons you had to wrestle just to breathe again. You know what it took to not break completely when everything inside screamed to give in. So when they look at you and see strength, understand they are only seeing the tip of the sword. They don't see the hours, the tears, the fights, the failures, the doubt, the silence, but you do. You remember. And you honor that by becoming undeniable. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You don't even need the pain anymore because you've turned it into power. And now that power belongs to you. So carry it forward into your work, into your mornings, into your discipline, into your decisions. Let every action say, I was forged in fire, and I chose to rise. Let every breath be proof that no failure, no heartbreak, no setback, no bottom can hold a man who refuses to surrender, not because he's perfect, but because he's willing to suffer, willing to start again, willing to outlast every lie, every fear, every doubt, with nothing but the certainty of his own relentless becoming. That is who you are now. Not the man who never fell, but the man who never stayed down. Not the man who was handed strength, but the man who forged it from suffering. Not the man who waited to be chosen, but the man who chose himself. So when you walk out of this darkness, walk out with your head high. Not because the world gave you victory, but because you earned it in silence, in sweat, in struggle. This is not your comeback. This is your becoming. And when history asks what happened at rock bottom, you'll smile and say, that's where I started. Now go and build something eternal. Let the fire in you never go out. Because from this moment forward, you don't rise from the ashes. You rise as the fire.